September 14th, 1943, 8:47 in the morning, Altavilla, Italy. Corporal Charles E is crouched at a second-floor window in a warehouse that smells like olive oil and gunpowder. His Browning automatic rifle lies across his lap. The barrel is smoking. The bolt is locked back on an empty chamber. The metal is too hot to touch. Outside, German voices shout commands. Close, maybe 40 yards, getting closer. Kelly's hands move to a wooden crate beside him. Inside are M49A 260mm mortar rounds. Each one weighs 2.94 pounds. Each one contains 5.44 ounces of TNT. Each one has a safety pin. Mortar rounds are designed to be dropped down tubes, not thrown by hand. But Kelly's bar just seized for the second time in 6 hours. The Germans watched it stop firing. They're advancing now, they know. Kelly picks up one of the mortar rounds. The metal feels cold despite the September heat. He finds the safety pin with his thumb, small, thin, designed to be pulled out before loading the round into a mortar tube. His father told him something once back in Pittsburgh, a long time ago, back when Kelly was just another kid trying to survive streets that didn't care if he lived or died. If you find yourself in a fight, and the other guy is bigger than you, and you can't win with your fists, use a club. Kelly pulls the pin. In the next few hours, he will throw mortar rounds by hand. He will fire a bazooka from inside a building. He will kill 40 German soldiers, alone, and he will become the first infantryman to receive the Medal of Honor in the European theater. All because his rifle broke, and he refused to let that be the end of the story. This is how a street kid from Pittsburgh turned ammunition into a weapon and held a warehouse against 200 Germans for 18 hours. Charles E. Kelly was born September 23, 1920, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, not the Pittsburgh of steel magnates and grand libraries, the other Pittsburgh, the one tourists don't see, brick row houses packed together like teeth, alleys that smelled like coal smoke and garbage, streets where kids learned to fight before they learned to read. Kelly had 5 brothers. The family was big and the money was short. His father worked somewhere in Pittsburgh's industrial sprawl. The records don't say where, just another man feeding too many mouths on not enough wages. Kelly left school young. The military records don't say what grade. They just note that he didn't finish. By the time most boys were worrying about homework, Kelly was running with a street gang. Not a movie gang, not organized crime, a survival gang. Boys who banded together because alone meant dead. Boys who learned that the world didn't give you anything, you took it or you went without. Kelly was small, not the biggest kid on the block, not the scariest, but he was quick, and he had learned something that the bigger kids didn't understand. Fair fights are for people who can afford to lose. His father taught him that, not in those words, in simpler words. Words a kid from the streets of Pittsburgh could understand. If you find yourself in a fight and the other guy is bigger than you and you can't win with your fists, use a club. It wasn't philosophy. It was survival. When you're smaller, you don't fight clean. You fight to win. You use whatever's in your hand. A bottle, a brick, a board with a nail in it, whatever works. Kelly carried that lesson through his teenage years. He got into trouble, small crimes. The kind that happen when you're poor and angry and nobody's watching out for you. The Pittsburgh police knew his name. He knew theirs. By the time he was 20, Charles Kelly had a reputation, quick with his hands, quicker with his mouth, the kind of kid who'd end up dead in an alley or locked up for good. Then the war came. May 1942, Kelly enlists in the United States Army. He's 21 years old. America has been at war for 5 months. Kelly reports to Fort Benning, Georgia, for basic training. The Army's job is to turn civilians into soldiers, take men from farms and factories and city streets, and teach them to kill on command. Some men adapt. They like the structure, the discipline, the clear rules about right and wrong. Kelly doesn't adapt. He refuses to do what the other soldiers call spit and polish, won't spend hours cleaning equipment that already works. won't shine boots that'll be covered in mud tomorrow, won't pretend to respect officers who've never seen a real fight in their lives. The drill instructors call him a discipline problem. His fellow recruits call him worse. The gangster from Pittsburgh, the troublemaker, the guy who went AWOL during training and had to be talked into coming back by Pittsburgh cops who knew him from the old days. But Kelly can shoot. On the rifle range, he qualifies expert. His groups are tight. His follow-up shots are fast, natural talent maybe, or maybe years of learning to hit what you aim at when hitting first means staying alive. The instructors notice. They hate him, but they keep him. Kelly gets assigned to Company L, 143rd Infantry Regiment, 36th Infantry Division, the Texas Division they call it, even though Kelly's from Pennsylvania. His reputation follows him, the street fighter who won't follow orders unless they make sense, the soldier who understands violence better than discipline. Nobody expects much from Charles Kelly. He's not leadership material. He's not promotion material. He's the kind of soldier who fills out the ranks and probably dies in the first real fight. They're wrong. Summer 1943, the 36th Infantry Division ships out. Destination is classified until the ships are at sea. Italy, the division will be part of Operation Avalanche. The Allied invasion at Salerno, first major amphibious assault on mainland Europe. The Germans know they're coming. September 9th, 1943, the 36th Division lands at Salerno. They come ashore under fire. The beaches are mined. The hills above the beaches hold German artillery. Machine guns rake the sand. The division pushes inland. Every yard costs blood. By September 13th, 4 days after landing, the 36th Division holds a defensive line around the town of Altavilla. The town sits in mountainous terrain about 1,000 feet above sea level, critical ground. Whoever holds Altavilla controls the approaches to the beachhead. To the east lies Hill 424, dominating terrain the Americans need to keep. To the west, the Germans hold the high ground. The 16th Panzer Division is counterattacking. They want to drive the Americans back into the sea. The window for that is closing, but the Germans are trying. Hard. Altavilla is the pressure point. If it breaks, the whole beachhead might follow. September 13th, 1943 morning. Company L occupies positions around Altavilla. Kelly is there with his Bayar and 200 rounds of ammunition. The Browning automatic rifle weighs 19.4 pounds loaded. It fires 30.06 Springfield rounds from a 20-round magazine. Rate of fire is 500 rounds per minute if you can change magazines fast enough. Kelly can. The Bayar is the heaviest weapon in a rifle squad. It gives the squad firepower that individual M1 Garands can't match. In the right hands, one Bayar can pin down an entire enemy position. Kelly's hands are the right hands. The German attack begins that morning. Company L engages German patrols moving through the terrain west of Altavilla. The Germans are probing, looking for weak points, testing the American lines. Kelly's platoon runs into a German machine gun nest, the MG-42. Hitler's buzzsaw, 1,200 rounds per minute. German doctrine uses the MG-42 as the base of fire while rifle squads maneuver around the flanks. The Americans have two choices: neutralize the machine gun or pull back. Kelly volunteers to move forward. He advances through broken ground, uses rocks and small depressions for cover. The MG-42 fires in bursts. Kelly can hear the rounds snapping past. Supersonic cracks in the air, each one capable of killing him instantly. He gets within 60 yards of the German position, close enough to see the muzzle flash. Kelly sets up his Bayar on a low stone wall. He fires controlled bursts, short, aimed. The Bayar doesn't have the sustained firepower of a machine gun, but Kelly uses it like a precision instrument. The German gunner falls. The machine gun goes silent. American riflemen move up and clear the position. Later that morning, a second German machine gun opens fire from a different angle. Same problem, same solution. Kelly volunteers again. This time, the Germans are ready. They have riflemen covering the machine gun. Kelly takes fire from multiple directions. He goes to ground behind a pile of rubble. The other 2 soldiers with him pull back. Kelly stays. He has a better angle on the machine gun from where he is. He waits. The German gunner shifts fire to the retreating soldiers. Kelly rises and fires. The gunner falls. Kelly destroys the 2nd machine gun position. By midday, Company L has engaged German forces multiple times. Ammunition is running low. The company came ashore on September 9th with basic loads. 4 days of combat have depleted stocks. Resupply is irregular. The beachhead is still contested. German artillery hits supply dumps. Convoys get ambushed. Company L is rationing ammunition. Kelly volunteers for a reconnaissance patrol. The mission is to scout Hill 315. Approximately 1 mile west of Altavilla, intelligence wants to know if the Germans hold it in strength. Kelly moves out with 3 other soldiers. They cover the distance in 40 minutes. Moving carefully, the terrain gives the Germans every advantage. When they reach observation distance of Hill 315, Kelly glasses the hill with binoculars. He sees German positions organized, dug in, multiple machine gun emplacements, at least a reinforced platoon, maybe more. Kelly marks the positions on his map and pulls back. The patrol returns to Company L with the news Hill 315 is occupied in strength. The Americans won't be taking it today. But more important, the American flank is more exposed than anyone thought. That afternoon, the ammunition situation becomes critical. Company L is down to basic load per man. For Kelly's BR, that means maybe 80 rounds, not enough for sustained combat. The company first sergeant directs Kelly to a supply dump near a warehouse on the edge of Altavilla. The warehouse had been used by Italian civilians for storing olive oil. Now it holds American ammunition, rations, and medical supplies. Kelly moves to the warehouse, draws additional BR magazines. While Kelly is at the warehouse, German forces attack the position. The attack comes from the west, the direction of Hill 315. Approximately 200 German soldiers from the 16th Panzer Division. They move in organized waves, fire and maneuver. Professional soldiers executing textbook tactics. The Americans at the warehouse number fewer than 20, their supply personnel, not frontline infantry. They have M1 Garands and a few Thompson submachine guns, no heavy weapons, no prepared defenses. The warehouse is a supply point, not a fighting position. Kelly is the only soldier present with a bar. He moves to the rear of the warehouse where the German attack is heaviest. The rear wall has been partially destroyed by earlier shelling. Rubble everywhere. Kelly sets up behind a pile of crates and begins engaging German soldiers advancing through the debris. The bar fires. Germans fall. Kelly changes magazines. The bar fires again. The Germans pull back, regroup, attack from a different angle. Kelly shifts position, fires again. The afternoon becomes evening. The Germans attack repeatedly. They have numerical superiority and better positions. The Americans are outnumbered 10-1. They hold because every time the Germans advance, Kelly's batter cuts them down, but ammunition is finite. Kelly is burning through magazines. The other soldiers are rationing their rifle ammunition. The Germans know the Americans are running low. They keep attacking. Night comes. The attacks continue. Kelly defends the rear of the warehouse through the darkness. He can't see the Germans clearly, but he can hear them. Moving through the rubble, boots on stone, voices in German, the metallic sounds of weapons being readied. He fires at sounds, at muzzle flashes, at shadows. The bar's muzzle flash lights up the night every time Kelly pulls the trigger. The Germans fire back. Bullets strike the crates he's using for cover. Bullets strike the walls. Bullets strike the stone floor and ricochet in random directions. Kelly stays awake all night. He drinks water from his canteen, eats nothing, changes magazines by feel in the dark. A full magazine has a certain weight, a certain resistance when you seat it. Kelly can tell by touch how many rounds are left. He's done this so many times his hands know before his brain does. He rations his ammunition, short bursts only, no suppressive, every burst has to count. Dawn comes on September 14th. The Germans have pulled back during the last hours of darkness. Kelly moves through the warehouse. 5 Americans are dead. 8 are wounded. The survivors are out of ammunition, or nearly so. Kelly has 3 magazines left, 60 rounds. The Germans will attack again when they realize how low the Americans are. They'll come in force. At 7:20 a.m., the German attack resumes. Kelly moves to a different position. The warehouse has windows on the second floor. Kelly climbs the stairs and takes position at a window facing west. The window was a firing position before. An American machine gunner was killed there yesterday. Blood stains the floor. Nobody has cleaned it. Kelly sets up his bayar on the windowsill and waits. The Germans advance in 2 groups, one along the left side of the warehouse, one along the right, classic envelopment. They'll hit the building from 2 directions and overwhelm the defenders. Kelly lets them close. When the Germans are 50 yards out, Kelly opens fire on the left group. The bayar roars, Germans fall. Kelly shifts to the right group. The bayar roars again, more Germans fall. The Germans take cover and return fire. Kelly fires controlled bursts, 3 to 5 rounds, aim, fire, assess, shift, fire again. The Germans can't locate him precisely. The window is small. Kelly stays back from the opening. His muzzle flash isn't visible from outside. He's shooting from shadow. At 8:04 a.m., Kelly's bayar stops firing. Bolt locked back, empty magazine. Kelly drops the magazine and reaches for another, seats it, releases the bolt, aims, pulls the trigger. Nothing. The bar doesn't fire. Kelly works the charging handle. The bolt moves, but something's wrong. Resistance, friction. The action feels like it's grinding through sand. The bayar is overheating. Kelly has fired continuously for almost 24 hours with only brief pauses. The weapon wasn't designed for this kind of abuse. Kelly field strips the bolt as much as he can without tools. He sees carbon buildup, metal grinding on metal without lubrication. The heat has cooked off the oil and fused the residue into a black crust. He scrapes carbon with his fingernail, spits on the bolt and wipes it with his shirt, reassembles, chambers around, fires. The bayar works. Kelly resumes firing. But the Germans outside notice the pause. They advance during the seconds when Kelly's gun was silent. Now they're closer, 30 yards. Kelly fires. The Germans go to ground. Kelly fires again. The bayar fires 6 rounds and stops. Bolt locked back. Kelly drops the magazine. It's not empty. He tries to chamber a round. The bolt won't move forward. Completely seized. The barrel is too hot to touch. The action is frozen solid. Kelly has fired approximately 140 rounds through the bayar since dawn. The weapon is done. He hears the Germans outside. They're moving again. They heard his gun stop. They know. Kelly looks around the room. He has an M1 Garand propped against the wall, taken from a dead soldier downstairs, 8 rounds in the internal magazine. He has his service pistol, a .45 caliber M1911, 7 rounds in the magazine. 15 rounds total. Maybe 200 Germans outside. The math doesn't work. The math hasn't worked since yesterday afternoon. Kelly knows what the manual says, what the officers would tell him to do. Option 1, fall back with the detachment. Evacuate the warehouse. Consolidate with reinforcements somewhere else. Accept the loss of the supply dump and hope to organize a new defensive line before the Germans exploit the gap. That means abandoning the warehouse, abandoning the ammunition, leaving the flank exposed, and probably getting shot in the back while running because 200 Germans aren't going to let a handful of Americans walk away unmolested. Option 2, stay and fight until the ammunition runs out. Die with honor. 15 rounds. Maybe kill 5 Germans if he's lucky. Then die. The flank collapses anyway. The same outcome, just with a more heroic narrative. Neither option saves the warehouse. Neither option saves the men downstairs trying to evacuate the wounded. Kelly's eyes move across the room, looking for something. Anything. He sees the wooden crate in the corner. Mortar rounds, M49A2, 60mm high explosive. The crate was stored in the warehouse as part of the ammunition supply. Nobody thought to move it. Why would they? Mortar rounds are useless without a mortar tube. Kelly moves to the crate and opens it. The mortar rounds are packed in sawdust. Each one is cylindrical, about 15 inches long, 2.4 inches in diameter, stabilizing fins on the back, fuse on the front. Each round weighs 2.94 pounds. The M49A2 was designed to be dropped down a 60mm mortar tube. The round slides down the tube and strikes a firing pin at the bottom. The impact ignites a propellant charge. The round launches in a high arc toward the target. Maximum range about 2,000 yards, minimum range 100 yards. The round was not designed to be thrown. But Kelly picks up one of the mortar rounds, turns it in his hands, feels the weight. The round has a safety pin, a small metal pin near the fuse that prevents premature detonation. Pull the pin and the round is armed. If the fuse hits something hard enough, the round detonates. 5.44 ounces of TNT, 3 times more than a standard fragmentation grenade. Kelly has seen soldiers throw grenades. An M49A2 weighs about the same as 2 M2 hand grenades. Heavy, awkward, but throwable. His father told him once, back in Pittsburgh, back when Kelly was just a kid learning to survive. If you find yourself in a fight and the other guy is bigger than you, and you can't win with your fists, use a club. Kelly's BR is broken. His rifle has 8 rounds. His pistol has 7. But he has a crate full of mortar rounds and 5.44 ounces of TNT per round, and a willingness to do something that isn't in any manual, because the manual never imagined anyone would be desperate enough to try. Kelly finds the safety pin on the mortar round, small, thin. He pulls it. The round is armed now. If Kelly drops it, the fuse might detonate. If the fuse hits the floor hard enough, the TNT will explode 3 feet from Kelly's face. He moves to the window. The Germans are 25 yards from the warehouse, moving through the rubble, using cover, professional soldiers who know how to advance under fire. Kelly can see 6 of them. More are out of sight. He aims, throws the mortar round the way you throw a grenade, overhand arc. The round tumbles through the air, fins spinning. It hits the ground near the closest German soldier, and explodes. The blast is louder than a grenade. The shock wave is stronger. The fragmentation pattern is wider. The German soldier disappears. The soldiers near him go down. Kelly doesn't wait to assess damage. He grabs a second mortar round, pulls the pin, throws. The round explodes among the Germans still advancing. Third round, fourth, fifth. Each round detonates on impact. The fuse works. The physics work. The desperate improvisation of a street kid from Pittsburgh works. The Germans scatter. They pull back. Kelly throws another round after them. When the Germans are out of range, Kelly stops. He looks at the crate. Approximately 15 mortar rounds remain. The Germans will regroup. They'll attack again. Kelly reloads his M1 Garand, positions the crate near the window for easy access. He waits. 9:21 a.m. The Germans attack again. Kelly fires the M1 Garand until it's empty. Then he throws mortar rounds. The Germans pull back. 9:47 a.m. Another attack. Same result. The Germans are learning. Advancing on the warehouse means explosions, means death from above, means a crazy American throwing bombs out of a second-story window. They change tactics. They set up a machine gun position 80 yards out. Beyond throwing range, they begin suppressive fire into the warehouse windows. Kelly ducks below the window. Bullets strike the wall above him. Stone fragments shower down. Dust fills the air. He can't throw mortar rounds 80 yards. Maximum throwing distance for a 3-pound object is maybe 40 yards if you're strong. Kelly isn't weak, but he isn't superhuman either. The machine gun is out of range. He needs a different weapon. Kelly leaves the second floor and searches the warehouse. In a room on the ground floor, he finds what he needs. A rocket launcher, the 2.36-inch M1A1, the bazooka. The launcher fires M6A1 high-explosive anti-tank rockets. Effective range against armor is 120 yards. Effective range against personnel is longer. Kelly finds 3 rockets. He moves to a first-floor window with a line of sight to the German machine gun position. He loads a rocket, aims, fires. The rocket motor ignites with a flash and a roar. The backblast fills the room with smoke and heat. The rocket crosses 80 yards in less than 2 seconds. Explosion near the German machine gun. Kelly loads the second rocket, fires. The German machine gun stops shooting. Kelly keeps the third rocket loaded, ready. The warehouse becomes quiet. Kelly waits at the window. Minutes pass. No German fire. No movement in the rubble outside. 10:15 a.m. Kelly hears American voices. Company L has sent reinforcements. The Germans have pulled back from Altavilla. The immediate threat is over. Kelly climbs out of the window position and walks outside. American soldiers are moving through the area, checking bodies, securing positions. A lieutenant from Company L finds Kelly, asks for a report. Kelly tells him. The lieutenant counts German bodies visible from the warehouse. 40 confirmed dead, at least 5 killed by the mortar rounds based on blast patterns, more killed by the BR before it broke, more killed by rifle fire. The lieutenant asks Kelly how long he held the warehouse. Since yesterday afternoon, Kelly says 18 hours. The lieutenant stares at him, doesn't say anything for a long moment. Then he starts writing. Company L withdraws from Altavilla later that day. The town is indefensible without more reinforcements than 5th Army can spare. The 36th Division pulls back to consolidate its position around the Salerno beachhead. The Germans continue counterattacking through September 15th and 16th. The beachhead holds. By September 18th, the German counterattacks have failed. Salerno is secure. The invasion of Italy will proceed. Kelly returns to Company L. He cleans what's left of his BR. The barrel is warped from heat. The bolt is damaged beyond field repair. The weapon is deadlined. He turns it into the company armorer and draws a replacement. Kelly doesn't mention the mortar rounds, doesn't think the improvisation was particularly noteworthy. You use what works. His father taught him that. But the lieutenant who counted bodies at the warehouse files a report. The report goes to battalion. Battalion sends it to regiment. Regiment sends it to division. The 36th Infantry Division Command reviews the report and recommends Kelly for the Medal of Honor. The recommendation includes witness statements from the soldiers who survived the warehouse defense. It includes the body count. It includes the tactical situation. A critical supply point held for 18 hours against 200 enemy soldiers by one man using improvised weapons when his standard weapon failed. The recommendation goes to 5th Army Headquarters. Lieutenant General Mark W. Clark commands 5th Army. He reviews the recommendation. Approved. February 18th, 1944, 5 months after Altavilla. Lieutenant General Mark W. Clark presents the Medal of Honor to Corporal Charles E. Kelly. The ceremony takes place in Italy. Kelly stands at attention while Clark reads the citation. The citation describes Kelly's actions on September 13th and 14th, 1943. It describes the reconnaissance patrol to Hill 315, the destruction of 2 German machine gun positions, the defense of the warehouse, the use of rifle fire, automatic weapon fire, hand grenades, 60mm mortar rounds thrown by hand, and a rocket launcher to kill approximately 40 enemy soldiers and hold a critical position against numerically superior forces. When Clark pins the medal to Kelly's uniform, Kelly salutes. He doesn't smile, doesn't make a speech, doesn't pose for photographs with his hand on his hip and his chin raised like the recruitment posters. He salutes and returns to his unit. Charles E. Kelly becomes the first enlisted soldier in the European theater of operations to receive the Medal of Honor for ground combat. The first infantryman, the first man to prove that Italy would be won one bullet at a time, one position at a time, one impossible defense at a time. The Army promotes Kelly to technical sergeant. They send him on a war bond tour in 1944. Kelly travels across the United States with a program called Here's Your Infantry. He gives speeches at factories and rallies. He tells the story of Altavilla to audiences who want to hear about heroes. Kelly is uncomfortable with the speeches. He's not a public speaker. He grew up on the streets of Pittsburgh, not in front of crowds. His vocabulary is limited. His grammar is rough. His hands don't know what to do when they're not holding a weapon. But he does what the Army tells him. September 1944, the city of Pittsburgh holds a parade for Kelly. He rides in an open car through the streets where he grew up, the same streets where he ran with a gang, the same streets where police knew his name, the same streets where nobody expected him to amount to anything. The mayor gives him a key to the city. Thousands of people line the sidewalks. They cheer for the gangster from Pittsburgh who became a war hero. Kelly waves. He doesn't know what else to do. The parade ends at a park where Kelly gives a short speech. He thanks the people of Pittsburgh. He says he did his duty like any soldier. He says the real heroes are the men who didn't come home. Then he goes back to the war. Kelly receives his discharge from the Army in 1945. He returns to Pittsburgh, enrolls in college on the GI Bill, studies for a while, doesn't finish. The classrooms feel wrong. The professors talk about things that don't matter. Kelly's mind keeps drifting to other places, to a warehouse in Italy, to the sound of German voices in the dark, to the weight of a mortar round in his hand. He drops out, gets a job, loses it, gets another. Kelly tries to run a gas station. It fails, gets robbed, loses customers, goes bankrupt. He marries, has children, tries to build a normal life. His wife gets sick, cancer. Kelly loses the house trying to pay for her treatment. The medical bills pile up faster than he can earn. The VA helps some, not enough. His wife dies in 1951. Kelly is 31 years old, a widower, broke, drinking too much. The drinking gets worse. Kelly struggles to hold jobs. The discipline problems that plagued him in the Army plague him in civilian life too. He won't do pointless work, won't pretend to respect bosses who don't deserve it, won't play the games that working people have to play. He lives in public housing for years. Then, in a VA-assisted living facility, the Medal of Honor winner reduced to charity and government checks. When people ask about the war, Kelly says he did what needed to be done. Other men did the same. He just happened to survive. He doesn't talk about the warehouse, doesn't talk about the mortar rounds, doesn't explain what it felt like to pull the pin on a bomb that wasn't designed to be thrown and trust that physics and desperation would be enough. Some things you can't explain to people who weren't there. Some things you don't want to remember. The lessons from Altavilla never appear in any Army manual. The Army doesn't officially teach soldiers to throw mortar rounds by hand. That would be unsafe. The fuse might not arm. The fuse might arm too soon. The round might explode before it leaves your hand. But the officers who reviewed Kelly's actions understood something important. Combat doesn't follow training manuals. Soldiers in combat face situations that no manual can predict. The soldiers who survive are the ones who adapt, the ones who improvise, the ones who remember that any object can be a weapon if you use it correctly. Kelly's burr broke. The manual said he should fall back. The manual said he should accept the loss and reorganize elsewhere. Kelly threw mortar rounds instead. The manual said that was impossible. Kelly did it anyway, because the alternative was dying, and dying wasn't acceptable. His father told him once, back in Pittsburgh, back when Kelly was just a kid, if you can't win with your fists, use a club. Kelly used a bar until it broke. Then he used mortar rounds. Then he used a bazooka. He used whatever worked. January 11th, 1985, Veterans Administration Hospital, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Charles E. Kelly dies. He is 64 years old. Cause of death, renal and hepatic failure, the official language for a body that finally quit after decades of too much alcohol and too little care and too many nights remembering things that should have killed him 40 years ago. They bury him with full military honors, the flag on the coffin, the rifle salute, the bugler playing taps. The Medal of Honor is displayed at his funeral. The citation is read aloud. The part about the reconnaissance patrol under artillery fire, the part about destroying German machine gun positions, the part about holding a warehouse for 18 hours against 200 enemy soldiers, the part about throwing 60mm mortar rounds by hand when his rifle broke and killing at least 5 Germans with improvised explosives. The part about fighting when fighting was impossible because the alternative was unacceptable. In 1987, 2 years after Kelly died, the Army renames a logistics facility in Oakdale, Pennsylvania. They call it the Charles E. Kelly Support Facility. 42 years after Altavilla, they finally put his name on a building. The street in Pittsburgh where Kelly grew up is now called Honorary Commando Kelly Way, a small sign on a lamppost in a neighborhood most people never visit. The warehouse in Altavilla was destroyed later in the war. No marker indicates where Kelly made his stand. The town was rebuilt. The people who live there now don't know that an American soldier once threw improvised bombs from a second-floor window and killed 40 Germans in 18 hours. The Italian government doesn't maintain a memorial. The U.S. Army doesn't conduct staff rides to the site. Altavilla is forgotten. But the Medal of Honor citation remains. It describes what Kelly did in language that is precise and factual. It lists the weapons he used. It counts the enemies he killed. It records that he acted voluntarily, without orders, without support, because the situation required someone to act. The citation doesn't call him a hero. It just describes what he did. The actions speak for themselves. September 14th, 1943, 8:47 in the morning, Altavilla, Italy. A corporal from Pittsburgh crouches at a second-floor window. His rifle is broken. His ammunition is almost gone. 200 German soldiers are advancing on his position. The manual says he should fall back. The manual says the situation is hopeless. Charles Kelly picks up a mortar round, finds the safety pin, remembers what his father told him once, a long time ago. If you can't win with your fists, use a club. Kelly pulls the pin. 18 hours, 40 Germans, one man who refused to let a broken rifle be the end of the story. His father was right. You use whatever works.